Working with drywall can be difficult without the right techniques. To secure this cutout, we'll add a bit of furring strip to the inside, then add spackling to the edges. Press the cutout into the spackling, and then drill in a couple more screws. Finally, we'll add a coat of spackling to smooth everything out. If you need to get a spring around a screw, try using some spare wire. To join these two edges together, we'll be making a single rabbet joint. Cut the rabbet out using a table saw like so, and then add some finish nails into both sides. Check out that support. Our next quick project is to make a bellows, also known as an air blower. We'll simply hot glue some plastic tubing through the top of this bottle. Now we can blow away any dust and debris. Having difficulty picking up tiny washers? Let's make a quick pair of tweezers. Cut a hacksaw blade in half at a sharp angle and set a small washer in between the two blades. Tighten with a bolt and we're good to go. Now let's make some DIY furniture feet. Fill some hot glue around this bolt inside of a mold. Now add a nut onto the bolt. We can secure the feet to the bottom of the furniture by tightening on another nut. If you plan to replace your floor with tile, we recommend using a tile suction cup. It makes applying underlayment and placing the tile so much easier. How do we cut this irregular shape? Drill a hole into a thin piece of scrap wood and place a marker inside. Now we can trace it on the board and everything lines up. Next, we'll be making a compass for drawing circles. We want it to be large and heavy duty so we can use it for our woodworking and construction projects. We'll start by gluing two pieces of plywood together and marking a dot in the center of each end. Then we'll draw two circles around each dot, one slightly larger than the other. Next, we'll draw three lines, one connecting the two dots and two connecting the outer edge of each circle like so. Then we'll cut out the shape using a jigsaw. Next, we'll sand the edge using a belt sander. Drill holes into each dot using the thickness of the bolt as a reference. Then we'll split the two pieces apart, give them a light sanding, and brush them with a varnish. This will keep the wood from warping. Now, install a bolt, washer, and a wing nut. We'll install a pencil into one end and then hot glue a tack into the other end. Adjust accordingly to make the correct size circle. Every workshop could use some more storage space. Here's a neat way to make some extra hidden shelves. Simply screw a single slat onto a 2x2 and then screw that to the bottom side of a wooden shelf. Now we can store all of our things in this plastic tub. And when we're done, we'll hang the plastic tub up like so. Next, we'll be making a nutcracker with a really interesting design. Start by cutting out two circles of wood, where one is about twice as large as the other. Next, we'll drill 3 equidistant holes in each circle, then cut 3 equal-sized pieces of rebar and grind down the edges. Hammer the circles into the rebar. Now drop a walnut inside and twist. For our next project, we'll be making a manual airbrush. We'll start by cutting this 1/2-inch aluminum tubing to about 8 inches in length. Then we'll cut this 1/4-inch aluminum tubing to 2 inches. Hammer one end flat and drill a hole into the top. Now we'll connect the two tubes by adding some hot glue inside and around the hole. Then place the 1/2-inch tube inside. Now add more glue around the outside to make sure it's completely sealed. Next, we'll drill 2 holes into the lid on opposite sides, one large and one small. We'll need a thin plastic tube, so we can use the inside of this pen. Place our aluminum tubes into the larger hole on the lid and seal it with glue. Do the same with the plastic tube into the smaller hole. It should look something like this. Now we'll add some support using this metal bracket and some screws. Place the bracket underneath the tubes and mount it to the lid using screws. Now we'll add more hot glue connecting the bracket to the tubes. Remove the lid and fill the jar with paint. Dilute the paint with water and stir it up. Tighten the lid back on, and now we've made ourselves a manual airbrush. For our last project, we'll be making salt and pepper shakers. We want to saw off 4-inch blocks from this 2x2 piece of scrap wood. Next, we'll trace a line from corner to corner to mark the center. We'll attach a 1.5-inch drill bit into our drill press and then drill a hole that goes almost all the way through the block. Next, we'll draw a circle in the center of the opposite side, then mark the dots for the holes to pour out the salt and pepper. You can make as many as you like and in any design that suits you. Next, we'll drill out the holes that we marked. As you can see, our holes pass through the wood. Lastly, we'll make the stopper. We'll use calipers to measure the hole and find a dowel that matches the size. Cut out the circles about 1/2 inch thick and place them into the bottom of the shakers. Now we'll give our shakers a light sanding. Then we'll brush on a coat of varnish on all sides. After the varnish dries, fill the salt shakers with salt and pepper. Now we'll wipe away the excess glue and saw the dowels flush. From here, we can screw in the hinge like normal. Here's a convenient way to help cut tape while packing up boxes. We'll use a small piece of the snap-off blade and tape it to the back of our thumb. Now we can easily cut the tape while packaging our boxes. We can apply some double-sided tape to this hammer to keep these small nails in place and to prevent us from hurting our fingers. Just stick the nail onto the double-sided tape and hammer it in. Our next project will be making a DIY drill bit. We'll fasten these 5 wood screws into this vise and then shave off the heads using an angle grinder. Next, we'll hold all of the screws together with a zip tie. Attach it into the drill, and now we can drill holes into wood. Sometimes we need to install wire clips in difficult places. Instead of using a hammer, we can use this wood clamp to drive the nail into the wood. Now let's make a sanding drum drill bit out of some PVC pipe. We'll cut 2 pieces of the same length. On one piece, we'll cut it down the middle and wrap sandpaper around the outside. Then we'll push the other piece inside to secure the sandpaper. Next, we'll attach a bolt with washers on each side. Now we can attach it to our drill to make sanding a little bit easier. We can take this angle grinder disc and cut it into a few smaller discs for our rotary tool. We'll insert a small bolt through the center and attach it to the bit that connects to our rotary tool. Now we can make some incisions into this PVC pipe to create a little holster for our tools. With these two pieces of wood, we can mark out a square notch. Now we can mount a bracket to one end with some screws. We'll then attach our handle to this piece of MDF. This will help us hold our pieces in place while we drill holes. We can unwind this thick wire rope by first cutting it, then attaching it to our drill. Secure the wire into a vise and drill it in the opposite direction to separate the strands. We can then shave down one side of this bolt and drill a few holes through its center. We'll add some nuts and then one of our wire strands into each hole. Separate the strands on each wire, and now we can use this as a drill bit to clean the inside of this pipe. By fastening this hacksaw blade over some washers, we can use it to help us cleanly tear off smaller pieces of sandpaper. If you need to hide screws, a good way to do it is by first drilling a pilot hole and then use a spade bit to drill a larger hole. Now install the screw and fill the hole with wood glue. Next, we'll seal it with a large dowel with the same type of wood. When drilling holes normally, sometimes the edges around the hole will start to chip. If we start our holes by putting the drill in reverse, this will remove enough wood on the top layer to not chip away the surface. Then, we can drill the holes normally for a clean finish. Want to add some color to these Christmas lights? We can use these straws to help. Just insert the lights into the straws and cut the straws to the appropriate length.